Okay, everybody, welcome to the work session today, Tuesday, October 21st. First, we have board and commission interviews, and we have one candidate to speak to today, Melissa Downs, Jason Smith, who's interviewing for the ARB.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah. Hey, Jason. So, this is a typically easy process. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to be on ARB.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for inviting me to say hello and give me the chance to speak with all of you. My name is Jason Smith. I am an architect. Been practicing for a little over 20 years now. I have spent most of my time focused on commercial design, but did start my career with residential. And I guess I would say I'm interested because I live in Webster and I care about design, and it was suggested to me by a few folks in the area that I should think about getting more involved, and it sounded like a great idea. Happy to share more about my experience with design, residential or urban planning or otherwise. But don't want to get on a soapbox per se. Happy to kind of listen and respond to any questions you might have for me.
All right. Is this for the full member or alternate?
It's Jason.
Okay. Full member at this point.
Okay.
The alternate is there, but we supplying for that.
Okay.
Just, it's 2 meetings a month, so
I was gonna bring.
are you up for that?
2 meetings a month. I do travel a bit for work. As you can see, I'm coming to you from Chicago tonight. So, depending on my commitments to clients that I'm working with, that might be a little challenging, but I would be open to it if that works for you all. If there's another more part-time position, I'd be open for that too.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? And I'm assuming you can zoom in, yeah? Okay, so I don't know if that would be if you're out of town, if you'd be willing to zoom in like you are tonight.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then the packets, you'd have to review those twice a month as well, so there's a little prepping. Yeah. Okay, does anybody else have questions? Excellent, all right.
Thank you.
Jason.
Of
Katie,
course.
we're gonna talk about your application towards the end of this meeting, and Katie will follow up with you after that. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Have a great night, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have regular agendas or anything on the regular agenda anybody'd like to review now? All right. So the next we have meeting updates, issues and updates. David, do you want to start?
Nothing for me.
Okay, Emerson?
I have no commission updates, but I do want to take the time to acknowledge Principal John Clark. We transitioned last week, and John was a great guy. He was diagnosed with brain cancer 20 years ago. And I was on the Board of Education before he became principal. And even during that time, we had to make him go home because he wanted to be there for his kids. John was there at, Troy read it in his paper, 5 a.m. and he was there to 6:30. Let the kids come in to the gym and practice and tutor. And he would take a lot of these kids up under his wing and make sure. His goal was to know everybody's name in the school. So this prayers go out to John's family, and the services are Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Just want to acknowledge John.
Thank you. Dr. Peoples?
Yes, ma'am. Just 2 quick updates. Reminder for the Memorial Park Master Plan that is happening October 29th, the kind of town hall, if you will, listening session. It's there's not going to be presentations overall, but different stations so people can go see. It's from 5 to 7, if I didn't already say that, but this is largely for both the performance park and the skate park. So we're really hoping to have good attendance for that. So
It's exciting. What are we
It
doing
is
for
exciting.
outreach for that?
quite a bit. So
Okay.
it'll pick up even more. I mean, this is the first couple of listening sessions, but there will be a community survey as well. Oh gosh, other opportunities that dates aren't selected for. And doing some separate things because the skate park and performance park have different audiences,
Yeah,
if you will.
right,
There's some
yeah.
overlap, but some
Yeah.
different audiences. Today, we invited a group of folks who perhaps haven't been in love with it. And so it was really interesting. We Director Boyd, Scott, myself, Deputy City Manager Bookless, we met with these folks and had a listening session with them and got to hear some pretty neat feedback and kind of some hopes and dreams. So it was fun. Yeah,
That's awesome.
we'll share more on that. Tomorrow, directors and myself will be out of pocket. If any of you have burning issues, you can give a text, but we have our quarterly leadership retreat is tomorrow. And tomorrow we're doing something a little bit different through HR. They have organized, we've got a consultant who's been working with the group, but they have done the DISC assessment for each of us. And so they'll be sharing that with us tomorrow, the 5 behaviors for a healthy team. So that's the first scheduled part. And then we've got a day 2 where we're fully off site sometime in December. I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but that will be tomorrow.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
The DISC assessment, I do remember doing one maybe about 15, 20 years ago. But can you give a little bit more background on that? It's all of your direct reports and all the supervisors and managers.
So tomorrow's session is just with the directors, deputy city managers. So there's about 10 of us and HR is included. Part 2, and I haven't been involved in the planning, so I can't answer as much because this has really been between HR and AM. I believe the second part, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that then includes some of the managers, superintendents, or other leadership retreats that we've had. Each of the quarterly ones have included the whole leadership team. But because this was the DISC assessments and the 5 healthy behaviors, it's a little more pulled back. But looking forward to it. I haven't seen any of them yet.
Isn't it where little dots were in different circles and
So yes,
you see how
again,
close you to the middle you are and stuff?
different personality types, what you look for, how you manage your projects, that sort of thing. It was sure everybody at their own pace. Took me about half an hour-ish to get through it. I asked quite a few questions, give you your assessment, and I can turn to it since you guys recently did yours as well. Do you remember any of the 6 categories? Putting everybody on the spot. No, of the DISC assessment.
I don't recall, because I did that one right away.
Yeah.
I did too.
Anyways, it's pretty in depth. It's pretty in depth. So
Excellent, thank you.
yeah, I'm hoping it'll be a good time.
Excellent.
I don't have any board and commission updates, but did have some updates about this weekend. So we've got a busy weekend. On Saturday, it's Make a Difference Day from 8 to 12, and there is a link on the city's website. You go there and search for Make a Difference Day on where you can volunteer for that, for different cleanup and honeysuckle sweep programs. So that's a really great annual event. Also on Saturday 25th at 3 o'clock is the dedication of the Jerry Welch Sculpture Park at Kirkham and Gore, which will be hopefully we won't have rain. But hopefully we'll have nice weather for that. And if not, bring an umbrella. But you can go from Make a Difference Day to the Sculpture Park. And then you can go straight into Walktober. Walktober was postponed from last weekend because of weather to this weekend. So Walktober in Old Webster and also the Fall Fest in Old Orchard. So all the business districts, all of the Webster businesses are doing stuff. And also at the same time, 3 to 5 is Old Webster trick or treating. So lots going on in our business districts and hope that people can get out and participate in something. Like not everything, because there's a lot, but
Yeah.
something. Do something,
All weekend.
but really excited about those events.
Thanks. Yeah. BDC had a meeting. Jordan did a fantastic job of kind of outlining some marketing options for the commission to consider. And they've been working on talking to the other business districts to get them on board with understanding where they want to see the dollars spent for the fourth quarter. Critical quarter for most businesses. If you don't know retail, most businesses operate in the red until the fourth quarter. So it is really important that we support our local shops and restaurants over the next few months, and they have a lot to offer. So let's get out there. Mayor Arlen and I are working on still trying to piece together the pieces of the youth summit that we held last month. We will be hearing from some of the representatives from that gathering on the 4th, I believe, at a work session. So that should be really exciting. And then more regionally, there is something coming up called Circularity STL, Circular STL. Talking about circular environments and how to close the loop on waste and whatnot. That is on the 30th. And I'm attending, and I do believe Mr. Booklis is attending and Sean Finnegan. So that is awesome, and I'm thrilled to have other Webster folks there. It's really exciting. And then I will be talking about this for the next couple of months. East West Gateway has their Climate Action Summit at the end of January. Just kind of park that in your head. I would love to see a lot of Webster folks there. It's going to be really interesting, a whole government track, and addressing a lot of different topics that are relevant to our decision making. Cool Cities STL is going to have a pop-up in Richmond Heights on December 3rd, and we are going to be discussing building codes. It is a topic that keeps coming up at the municipal level. St. Louis Municipal League, I'm a part of their legislative committee, and it's something that is on everyone's radar, and it's important to maintain local control over that. So that issue will be discussed beginning of December. So that's all I got.
It's awesome. Thank you. Ms. City Clerk, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Runtrigger?
No, ma'am.
All right. I'll just wrap up a little bit with coming up this weekend as well. Old Orchard is going to have their fall festival. This is kind of a revival of a past event, so it's going to be a lot food trucks in the back of off of Old Orchard, the parking lot there behind Civil Alchemy, and across the street from Commerce Bank. There's going to be a petting zoo, live music. So it's going to be a quite a thing. It's from 10 to 9 both Saturday and Sunday. Sustainability Commission met yesterday, and we have the pumpkin smash coming up. So that will be for recycling pumpkins. You essentially can't compost pumpkins. So they traditionally will collect pumpkins at the service center in a big dumpster. So that will begin on Saturday, the 8th. Which is Saturday, a week after Halloween, and will go through the 14th. And they had discussion about maybe defraying the cost next year by inviting Brentwood, Rock Hill, and Glendale to participate, pay the cost for that dumpster. So they're looking ahead, yeah. And then I attended the second Great Rivers Greenway Open House last week. And that seemed very well attended to me. I think maybe it was a little fewer than before, but a lot of interested people were there. They basically presented the favored solution out of 3 options. And then there's a couple other refinements they were asking about there. And they were doing some dot voting on that. I think that's all I have. Okay. All right, so I understand Mr. Morgan's going to be presenting this evening about Wagner. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah.
Accessory dwelling units and short-term rentals. So-
May I sit at the corner over there?
Yes,
and
please join us.
Man the mouse?
Yep.
On that table? I'm sorry.
As he's getting set up, just as a reminder, I'm sure council members, but for those watching, this is one of those items the council requested be on the agenda just for an overview. Fortunately, Councilwoman Alexander was the first. I think Councilman Franklin may have been the second. So I don't know if she's joining us, but hopefully, because this is certainly a presentation she was interested in. And it is certainly a timely topic.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Peoples. So there are two sections of this, the accessory dwelling units and then short-term rentals. I don't know if after I get to this part, if you want to ask questions or get through the whole thing, I'll leave that up to everyone. So accessory dwelling units. Oh. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. It's the wrong side. So accessory buildings, accessory dwelling units. So what are they? They're really just that accessory buildings. They're subordinate to the primary use on site, which is of course a residence. It's on the same lot with the larger residence, of course, and that certainly matters. But more importantly, it is just a self-contained residence. I mean, it has a bathroom, a kitchen, sleeping area, whole place unto itself. They come in many forms. A detached house up there on the left, and I lived in one of these in Indianapolis before I left Indiana several years ago. And they can be attached to the house. They can be on the upper level. They can be a garage, above a garage, garage conversion. So they do come in many forms. Why the sudden interest in ADUs, as Dr. Peoples mentioned? Well, there could be a lack of options for residents that would like to have alternate living arrangements, an apartment or something like that. The rising cost of housing and particularly the rising cost of rent these days certainly could be driving that as well. And maybe even a revival of a renewed interest in multi-generational housing situations where kids live with their parents, or their parents may move into the smaller residence in the back, where their kids may move into the larger residence, or if they just want to rent the place out, as we'll come to. Some reasons why people would want to consider having ADUs. There was a AARP survey about 4 years ago, and these are some of the reasons why people thought ADUs were good. They want to provide a home for a loved one in need of care, provide housing for friends and relatives, have a space for guests, certainly would be a good idea, create a place for a caregiver to stay. It would certainly increase the value of the home, having a secondary living arrangement. People may feel safer having someone close by, although that could be a perceived negative if it's someone who just moves in and the neighborhood doesn't know them. But having someone nearby certainly could make someone feel safer. And I think more importantly these days, particularly since 4 years ago, I think the extra rental income could be important as well. So what are some of the concerns, community concerns about having ADUs? Certainly could be a change in the neighborhood character, although it may not look like that. I mean, unless someone actually builds another structure in the backyard or something like that, that could change the neighborhood character. But if it's an existing garage or an existing apartment, it may not necessarily change the physical character of the neighborhood, but it certainly could change the social characteristics depending on who would be moving into a place. Could reduce backyard privacy. So if there's a house right on the back property line or even the side property line, it could be privacy issues. Increased density, maybe a little bit. Those sorts of things that drain on infrastructure and emergency demands. If there are a number of them in the city, then if there's enough of them, that could be particularly for police and fire. Webster Groves regulations. So a family, a caregiver, a family or a caregiver of people in the main residence can live in the alternate dwelling unit, only for a maximum of 2 people though. More importantly, I think the spaces cannot be rented. They can just have someone living there. And they cannot have a separate electrical service. All that has to come through the main one for the main house. They can't have anything separate.
What's the rationale for that? To have a separate electrical meter?
I know Joe Rodriguez, our building commissioner, and I talked about that because he's had a few applications in for electric vehicle charging stations, and they wanted to have a separate charging meter in the garage. And Joe said, no, you can't do that. Everything has to be through one electrical service in the house. The rationale behind that, I'm not terribly certain. David.
Just by way of some history, only as much as I was dealing with this also 18 years ago-ish. The idea was, at the time, you wanted it to be a single household in between the two structures. So the thinking was one single electric service, it's one household.
Gotcha.
And there's a safety component, so when fire responds or if an emergency response is there, they want to know that they can shut off one meter, so they don't have to look for another.
Gotcha.
That's what I was gonna ask, if there was a safety or, well, regulatory is what my brain goes to, but if there was a safety reason.
Other cities, Kirkwood, minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet, a $3,000 permit for it. And no more than a 750 square foot size, for the ADU. And they talked about this with Kirkwood just about a month ago or so ago. I saw an article that they didn't change really anything at that meeting. St. Louis City recently passed a bill allowing a second residential unit to be built on any residential district. And that was just like within the last month or so. There is a new.
Yeah, they did a lot of that in response to the
Storm.
properties that were lost with the storm
Yeah.
to give people.
Yeah. Richmond Heights and University City do not allow ADUs, for perspective as well.
Do they not allow those because of their proximity to WashU and students?
In University City, it does have a lot to do with that,
Okay.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
interesting.
I don't know about Richmond Heights, but in University City, I think it was specifically for that reason, yes. So things to consider if the city takes action on anything. Maybe allow more than 2 residents and maybe allow them to be rented. I think that's probably the burning question is, should we allow them to be rentals as opposed to just friends and family and caregivers living there? Should the owner of the property be required to live in the main residence? I don't think it's a requirement. I think it does. That is the case for the most part. And where should ADUs be permitted? All zoning districts, certain zoning districts, or just across the board?
I'm sorry, you said you think it is a requirement that the owner live in the main?
I don't believe it is, no. Most of the time, I think that's the case, but I don't think it's a requirement that they do that.
So the owner could essentially be renting the property and the renters use the ADU for their parents or something, or the owners
That's a
could have
possibility,
their
yes.
children or something in the property.
As long as it's part of the lease or.
So the
so on.
ADU just has to be related to whoever's living in the main house.
Right now.
Right now. Right.
So.
But we don't require that right now. But it wouldn't be,
Way so.
yeah, okay,
It kind of is required now because you can't charge rent.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And leading into our next topic, should short-term rentals, Airbnbs and so on, be allowed in alternate dwelling units? So.
Can you go back to the slide with the concerns? As I'm very curious to know if these are real, like if these concerns are borne out anywhere. I just don't see that we would have so many ADUs that there would be a significant increase in traffic density. and
I don't
fire
have data on these. No, it's just a general from reading the literature and stuff like that. It's just some of the common concerns listed associated with ADUs. But no, I don't have any
costs. Sure
data.
that these are real.
Well, if you had someone living in the main
More
house.
bigger than like something that's really.
Main house, they have 2 automobiles, and somebody live in the auxiliary house, they have 2 automobiles, that's 4.
Sure, but you have, you know, people with kids in high school and college living at home, they've got 6 cars and, you know, like.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying that
Well,
will have some
please.
impact
And not every house on the street is gonna have an ADU on it. Cause they're not all gonna, but you know, for whatever reasons.
And they do have to provide off-street parking.
Yeah, so I just don't know. I'm a little concerned because I just don't want people to see this and think, oh yeah, I'm concerned about that too. When I don't know that these are all really borne out in areas that do have ADUs.
I don't know that they are either.
Yeah.
Just a list of possible.
Yeah.
I'm just a mess.
I think that's
Yeah.
important. That's important, Emily, to call out. I
Yeah.
agree with you that a lot of the traffic concerns that folks have don't always like come to fruition.
I'm not sure the emergency response to the incident is that.
Yeah.
Valid.
And
I mean,
think-
if you had, if every house had an ADU, I would imagine that would like create issues, but
Yeah.
on those limited times that you do have an ADU, it's like.
Yeah.
What's one additional person?
And these are some of the things that tend to create an alarmist mentality
Exactly.
Yeah.
that are unborn, that
Mhm.
are unwarranted, you know?
Also, the policy that Webster has now, like, is that because with like renting? Is that because of the university here? Or do we know why?
And I think it's so you would have a place for staff to live, the
Okay,
nanny.
but like to rent out like a little space.
And there's 75.
Okay.
I don't know, it's come up before.
So like when the rental spaces, like when I was growing up, a cousin of ours, like they lived near WashU and they rented out their third floor to a college student.
Mhm.
Is that like?
They
We didn't,
used to do that all the time in Webster, my understanding.
Okay.
I don't know exactly when it kind of stopped, but I know that when my parents first moved to Webster, that was a thing.
Yeah.
And Laura's talked about it growing up and everything like that, so I don't know exactly when it shifted.
Some of that's probably tied to the occupancy permit
Yeah,
issues that
right.
we've discussed at other times as well.
Really
Really, the
like
number
to see
of
it.
people in the home, how many people are related, some of those antiquated.
They
yeah,
used to keep track of a lot of detailed information on who was living in the house back in the day, like down to names and ages.
So we still do.
Do we? Okay.
We still do, we still do. That's right. I mean,
Right.
theoretically, and if you're in the school district, then you are required at registration to provide your occupancy permit with your kids listed on
Oh,
it.
really?
But to answer your question, there was concern back in the day about like between Webster University and Eden Seminary of sort of the creeping campus out into the neighborhoods and more college kids moving into the neighborhoods. And that was a concern. Whether it was,
It also seems like it would be a plus, like you could get some rental,
Yeah.
it helps with the housing stock, businesses.
Neil?
I don't remember how long ago it was. I think it was about 5 years ago that Mara looked at this and came forward with the changes that we have now. And there was a lot of concern about short-term rental. And so the ADUs on the short-term rental component were very, very, there were a lot of people, good, bad, or differently, were worried about that component, that there was going to be, and whether it was the university or whether, again, it was whatever it might have been, that was the boogeyman. And that really drove a lot of the concerns. But they looked very hard at changing it. I guess it was 20 or 21 because COVID, I think, was in play. And so the answer was, what are we doing there? And we looked at this hard at that time. And
Is ADUs or short-term rentals? period?
both,
Mhm.
both. And we've had this issue come up with the university who had who wanted to do short-term rentals, both for the buildings that are over at the seminary and then for the, I never think what that apartment building is that's by Nerex that's owned by Webster. And they wanted to do short-term rentals there. And so these conversations all.
I wonder if we should go on to the short-term rental conversation, then we can kind of tie it all.
Thank you, Mayor.
So, short-term rentals, STRs, have become all the rage in planning community, certainly. The seems to be a need to regulate it for the safety, of the guests as well as the safety of the neighbors in the neighborhood in general, and also to secure property rights too for the owner of the place. And there's been this, and here again, the neighborhood character, issue comes into play again. Need to maintain neighborhood character. And I should note that a lot of cities are increasingly addressing these issues. A lot of them simply haven't yet. So I'll note which ones those are here in just a little bit. These are a couple of maps, Airbnb website and the Verbo website, and even when I worked in University City, they don't allow short-term rentals. But you go to this thing and you zoom in over that map and there's probably a dozen of them. So, but we didn't have an army of inspectors to go out and do anything about it, and most of them didn't cause a problem. It's kind of like an offensive lineman for a football team. They don't hear their name a lot unless they do something wrong. So maybe a similar thing is here. Most of them don't cause problems, but there certainly were some that did. So
Some hefty price tags on there.
they do make a lot of money. Area short-term rental regulations, St. Louis City, St. Louis County do have them. The city of St. Charles, Clayton, Great Gore, and Webster Groves, of course, and I'll go over those momentarily. Cities that do not allow them: Brentwood, University City, Richmond Heights, and Maplewood. City of St. Louis, back in 2023, and this was all over the news then as well, enacted new regulations on STRs, requiring operators to obtain a permit to have somebody available 24/7, and limit the number of units an individual can rent out. And I think the big thing here was they were going to make it like in 6 months from when it was enacted, they were going to make this have to comply.
So you don't have one person or one company that owns a bunch of
Yeah.
properties.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of the regulations, and they were fairly complex, was to address what they call ghost hotels, where the owners just weren't there, and they would just rent the place out and do whatever.
I know down Soulard, doing Mardi Gras, those people move out of their apartments and houses and rent them out. I don't know if they do it legally or not, but they get some hefty rental fees out of that.
And one of the reasons the permits were so important is because you can then tax.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what I think. I would continue to this. That's some revenue opportunity. Absolutely.
City of Clayton just a couple months ago enacted interesting regulations. Short-term rentals can only be located in the central business district. None can be located in the residential zoning district. I thought that was interesting. There's some other ones there. I won't dwell on the rest of it. I thought those were the two biggest ones. Creve Coeur, they did something back in 2019. They amended it again in 2023.
So there's like a Airbnb for swimming pools.
Yeah, I've heard of people just trying to rent the pool out itself and not the house, but in Creve Coeur, you cannot do that. You need to rent them both out. No more than no less than 30 days, a maximum of 2 adults per bedroom, a minimum 2 night stay. You can't stay for 1 night, which is fairly typical, I think.
What was that last book? Property owner must keep. I read this last night, but I missed it. Property owner must keep a log.
The property owner must keep a log of all renters for a 3-year period and provide local contact for who has authorization to deal with problems when they may come up. So.
But since most of those things are online, that's not hard to do anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So Webster Groves has 2 different types of short-term rentals. Type 1 is your traditional bed and breakfast type of place. The owner has to be there, has to live there, and has to actually be there when guests are there. Yeah, they have to be on site no more than 14 consecutive days. And they have to have off-street parking for guests as well. So type 1. Type 2 is very similar. No more than 2 rooms in the residence shall be used for this, and no more than a maximum of 4 people at any one time. Again, they need to have no more than 14 straight days, similar to a type 1. And they need to provide off-street parking, and food cannot be prepared in the individual rooms.
So this is still an Airbnb though. This is
Yeah.
Could be, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Because the reason I ask is because my understanding is right now, you can only do a short-term rental that's an Airbnb in Webster. That you cannot, that the owner has to reside in the residence that they're reading.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we need. to
Yeah,
talk
both
about
of these
that.
options, the owner has to live there. and
Yeah.
It can't be like a whole, its own separate unit, like an ADU that you're renting out your backyard.
Or renting an
It
entire
has
house.
to be like, 2 rooms on the second
What's the-
floor.
What's the difference between type 2 and type 1?
The meal, basically,
Okay.
they come down and have breakfast in the morning, and whereas with the type 2, they don't have any food associated with it whatsoever.
Okay.
The off-street parking. Like, that seems bananas to me, like.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, if no more than 4 people at any one time, no more than two rooms, if a couple comes in, maybe 2 couples come in, it's two parking spaces. It's not allowed, no more than 2 parking spaces, at least 2, in addition to what the actual resident living there would have.
Houses in Webster have one off-street park.
Yeah.
The driveway would count as your parking, so as many cars as you can do end to end. You're gonna be-
But you have to have the owner there too.
Correct. So, questions to consider are short-term rentals creating any issues in Webster Groves? And as this is the start of my 7th week, I don't know the answer to that question, so
Live and learn.
Not on those weeks though, yeah.
I am, yes. So some of the benefits, it's economic activity for the city and the region. People, they come and stay, they go to coffee shops, they go to restaurants, they go, so there is an economic multiplier. There, rental income for the property owners is certainly, not to be discounted. Disadvantages, maybe, neighborhood safety, either perceived or real, and I had that on there because in some instances, and where I worked before, there were real problems created by some of these. And in other instances, there were people that would call me and they say, well, they're not causing any problems over there, but I don't know who they are. I mean, I've lived here for 30 years and they're not causing any problems, but I don't know who they are and I don't know what they can do. I said, well, in that case, short-term rentals were not permitted anyway. So that was the issue there. But oftentimes maybe they just don't like the unknown living across the street, no matter who they are. They're just someone that's came to town for a week or so, and there they are. They come and go during the day. So
I would add under the benefits that we don't have a hotel. Like, This is
Exactly.
a place for people's family and guests.
For proximity.
And I think we should reconsider that whole issue of you having to live in the
I
property.
agree.
Because again, we don't have any hotels. There's a lot of good checks and balances in there that I think that we should keep, the off-street parking and, making sure you know who it is that's staying there to the extent that you can, which you said what's available now. But, people could actually generate some additional revenue for the city because we have no hotels.
Hotel tenants.
You could have a hotel tax on it. It has to be licensed with a organization like Airbnb or whatever the companies are that do that. So that when they market that stuff, they market those fees and revenues and all of that stuff on there. When it's paid, that's paid directly.
By the guest.
But when that's paid by the guests, that's forwarded to the city or whatever. But considering we have no hotels and we have people that have family come in, whatever and things like that, I think we really need to revisit that requirement that you can only do that as an Airbnb.
I do like the guardrail that St. Louis City has of limiting how many properties a single owner can.
I do too. I really like that.
Adopt.
Yeah, because I can think right now we have somebody that owns like 40 properties in certain areas, and I could just see that becoming so I absolutely like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and this last one is somewhat related to what I just mentioned a moment ago, visitors not being screened, constant turnover, whether they're creating problems or not. Some people are just not comfortable with that. So
Some residents aren't comfortable with the turn with the people that come and go, with the people that live in the.
that's a very good point.
Thank you.
So a possible amendment is maybe a type 3 short-term rental that could fill a market demand, so to speak. accommodates guests that need to stay longer than 14 days. And examples could include maybe a visiting professor at Webster, maybe traveling nurses.
Corporations also have that too, where you have corporations that you gotta go and you're assigned to a city or job or something for 3 or 4 months.
So,
And you contract with the corporation.
so, and that of course kind of blurs the line between an ADU and a short-term rental, but I do know the traveling nurses thing is I've had a lot of calls on that previously in the city. And that would be convenient visiting professors, corporations and such, where they're longer than 14 days, but maybe they're there for 3 months or something like that. So it could fill a niche.
And right now, I think, Marie, is it accurate that we've got we either have short term or long term, but there's 6 months? There's not, okay, because I thought that we were asking about, well, yeah, because that's when the whole idea of visiting nurses and corporate rentals came up. We were thinking because sometimes corporations, and I thought that there was a shorter period or something that was outside of the
So
Airbnb.
if you wanted to rent a place for 30 days, that would not fall into this. That's not considered a short-term rental. 30 days, you can do month-to-month tenancies, you don't need a lease. But anything more than a month typically would be just deemed a regular rental. It wouldn't fall within these.
And you have to have an inspection before they moved in and before someone else moved in.
Right, it's just less than 30 days, short-term rental.
Right. Okay.
So we could do 30 instead of.
I'm saying, okay. There's in one of the things that you shared, one of the slides that you shared with us, John, I think you mentioned, like particular districts. Was it Clayton who just has it in their downtown area?
Yeah.
That's interesting because they have a lot of buildings with apartments and whatnot, multi-level. We don't necessarily have that, and it does, like initially I was like, oh, that would be really logical to have it like near our business, districts in those little walkable areas. But then I remember the A4, perception that the folks who live in that neighborhood felt they were being targeted. And like, if it wasn't good for all of Webster, why should it be good for us type situation? So, I think that is that something, we look at
I
like
think
just
it should be citywide.
city, yeah, okay.
I think that just speaks to the creativity you can take in crafting an ordinance. I mean, Clayton had the opportunity to do that because they do have a central business district. It just speaks to the creativity that could be there in crafting something.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the slide that has our current regulations for short-term rentals?
Type 1 or type 2?
Type 2, please. So I might be the odd duck out here, but I think that our current short-term rental regulations are appropriate for Webster Groves. What I disagree with is the ADU. I think 1, we should permit more ADUs, but 2, we should permit ADUs to be rented for a month, 3 months, whatever it is we determine. But my hesitancy of changing the short-term rentals, I don't think that a property that is used merely for short-term rentals or only for short-term rentals fits with the character of the community.
So maybe just do ADUs
Yeah.
because the owner doesn't have to live in it, but there's a rental
Correct.
property there, but
So yeah, you
not
can
rent out
always,
the main
yes,
house.
you can, and I'm okay with extending it to like the 14 days. But I like the idea that we permit short-term rentals in almost any house in Webster Groves. And make it up to 30 days, whatever. But if you want to have, if you want to own a property in Webster Groves and especially accessory dwelling units and be able to rent it, I think that's where we should be changing the regulations and the rules.
Okay, so did I just hear you say you think it would be if you had a short term, if you own a property in Webster, you wanted to have a short term rental?
Yeah.
That's less than 30 days. That's okay. But what you're saying is if you have an ADU, you should be able to use that as a short term rental.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think it fits with the character of Webster Groves community for a property to be used only for short-term rentals. they can have that property, but I think that in short-term rentals would be permitted, but I don't think that it could be only for short-term rentals. In other words, it can't be like a condo in Florida that you're just churning people in and out. I'd rather see a long-term renter in that property. Now, ADUs, I think, would be different.
And sometimes well, it depends on what it's being used for, because for example, you can have a property that your family owns and you use it periodically, but when you're not using it, you can use it for short-term rentals.
Correct.
Okay. Because where I'm just going with, I just don't think that the short-term rental should be limited to an Airbnb or to where the owner needs to reside in and live in the property in order to be able to have short-term rentals. And that's right now what we have.
I agree. The only concern I have is that a property sits there and it's only used effectively for short-term rentals. So you have an unoccupied property a greater percentage of the time than it's occupied. And
Well, with
that's my
that,
concern.
though, it's like, how do you really police that? Because right now, we've got properties that sit and they're vacant and they're not used now, and they're a problem, and there nothing's being done with it. But I mean, as long as you are maintaining your property and, you know, it's not creating a hazard for the city or for the neighborhood or whatever, and you are responsible with the upkeep and the ownership of the property, you should be able to have that flexibility if that's what you want to do, especially if everything is registered, if everything is permitted, if everything is inspected the way it should be. You know, because it's kind of like if you're saying it's sitting there, you know, we've got a lot of stuff that's sitting there now. That's just, you know.
I guess my concern though on that front is I don't want an individual or a company to come up and purchase some of our smaller homes and only use them for short-term rentals. I'm okay if they're going to do long-term rentals, but the short-term rentals is the thing that I think I am fearful of from a perspective of one entity or a few entities buying up several properties.
Well, but then I think that's what goes with the guardrail that we have on there, but that you can only
Have one.
have
But-
one.
But wouldn't an individual just be able to own multiple LLC or create multiple LLCs and?
Some people, there's, again, some of that stuff you can't manage because you can't control it. I mean, we have that instance now. I can think of 2 properties right now where it's a LLC and tracking down to figure out who it is, and it ends up they both own the properties next door and both of them are wrecked.
Yeah.
You know, and so I mean, some of that it's just hard to manage. But I think that, you know, to the extent that we can, and then when you see a problem, you address it, just like you said, whatever the linebacker does. Yeah, that.
Somebody gets called for holding.
The property ownership in America comes with a lot of due process rights.
Right.
And so my concern is once they own the property and we give them the short-term rental lease or permit or whatever it is, it's pretty hard to take, it's very difficult to take it away. Except for extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, but if you have to permit it every time you have.
I think if we have an annual inspection,
Yeah.
then that would be the opportunity to say, hey, places are wrecked, can't do this anymore.
And then wasn't there one in there that whenever you rent it, you have to do another inspection and then this and that. Yeah, you have an opportunity. It's, you know.
Yeah.
There's some guardrails.
I do like the idea of a hotel tax or
Yeah,
whether that's
big
for
time.
rentals or short-term rentals. I do think that makes a lot of sense.
I think we should definitely have.
And I think we should, if we are gonna go down that path, we should decide where that money is funneled to and what purpose it's used for.
I agree.
So I'm thinking we should go back to the questions, or what do you need from us today? I think you had some question slide.
So the next steps of these, if one or both of these are things you're interested in, then
Okay.
both John and David would go back and work with staff and redline the ordinance and come up with some language. And at the next meeting or whenever that language is available, council would discuss it and possibly take action.
Okay.
I think that sounds great. Kirkwood's ADU regulation with it had to be 15,000 square feet, a minimum of 700. I think we have to do something like that, but here's my concern. I don't know how to create equity here, but merely because you own a smaller property, you don't get the benefit of potentially having an ADU.
Maybe a percentage or something.
Yeah,
I think
so,
the boundary lines, the setbacks, all those requirements would be the same, so you can like you might, not every lot might be big enough to fit
Yeah.
a detached ADU, but maybe they have it like in their second floor.
Absolutely.
Or something,
the
so,
basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd be all on board with that. I guess my concern is more the separate ADU.
Yeah.
Separate, a detached
I think
ADU.
it's almost like a garage, right? Like if you have to have enough space to build a garage if you're gonna build a detached garage, and I would think it would be the same. If you're gonna build a detached ADU, it has to meet like certain setbacks.
That's a
you
good
have to have,
point.
like, certain ratios.
Yes.
Do we
Except
have,
now you can buy tiny houses
yeah, pop that on there.
to get.
Do we have to look at occupancy permitting as part of this discussion too?
I think we should.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So that's just great.
That too, which as you all know, we've revisited it several times, that is the heftier discussion, separating it from the safety inspections as well. So we can talk about that offline and how to bring it back. So did I hear as direction, you all do want 2 red lines?
Yes.
Yes, please.
And the other thing, can we please talk to our fire department to see if we can allow separate electrical, units or whatever?
I'll see what the rationale was, because Joe was pretty dead set against it though, but yeah, I think for a lot of the reasons that everybody brought up, so.
Not gonna be a short term.
I'm sorry. I was.
You're not Joe.
No, I'm not, I'm kidding.
He answers to whatever you go.
No,
Just don't call me late for dinner.
Joe's the building commissioner. Joe
okay, that's what I
Rodriguez.
thought.
The ADU is gonna be a long-term rental. It makes sense that they would have their own electric bill and things like that, and that's harder to do.
I'm not aware of any restriction on that. I think that was just something unique to our systems.
Well, other communities obviously have a way to deal with it.
Yeah.
There are some people that have she sheds in the backyard that have their own electric meter too, so.
She should.
You gotta.
Okay.
No, I won't. Pretty much it.
Detached. living.
This is your she shed.
It's called City Hall.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Any other-
It sounds like we have good direction then on this.
Thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Languish the mouse, so.
Okay, so we have just some board and commission appointments to consider. We just met with Jason Smith today. Does anybody have
I think
a
he'd be
strong
great.
opinion?
Yeah, I just, I'd maybe give him a trial run, like, if it's too much, we can always revert to the alternate.
He can let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
usually connect them with the chair. So the chair can really.
Right,
But how difficult will it be to get?
Yeah. okay,
I don't know if
okay.
they should, get off
Emerson, that's
paper or
a-
not.
That's a really good suggestion, just to make sure he understands the time commitment of what he's getting
Right.
into, because
Right,
as their liaison, I don't even pour over the plan.
and yeah,
It is
it's a lot. It can be a lot.
Are they online or are they all paper at the meeting?
They're paper.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the meetings are, you can zoom in, but
But yeah, you're gonna need to get your packet, and if you're out of town, when your packet is delivered.
Okay, the next to consider is Marty Klodge. She interviewed last meeting about the BDC and wanted to be considered for the BDC appointment at this time.
Yes.
All right, okay. And then next we have Melissa Downs. She is currently on the BDC and is interested in serving in the Old Orchard Commission. And that's good, great. And then we do have a resignation from Mark Vogel. He has resigned due to meeting conflicts,
He's an alternate. on
which
the
was
ARB.
ARB, yeah. So that is it for the work session. All right, thank you, everybody, for coming to our council meeting tonight. I am Mate Pro Tem Bliss, and I'm here. Mayor Arnold is out this evening. So first, I would like to begin with the roll call.
Mayor Arnold is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Bliss,
Here.
Councilmember Franklin,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Alexander, Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Here.
Councilmember Hasselmeyer.
Here. Excellent. Okay, so next we have remarks from community and visitors. I have one speaker card from Police Officer Matt Dorr.
Good evening, council members. I'm here representing the Webster Groves Police Officers Association, and my compatriot here is representing the fire department.
Tyler Reese. I'm with the firefighter community outreach here in Webster Groves.
We're here before you today because we would just like to officially invite the council members and the general public to our Halloween event on October 31st. It'll be from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. in front of City Hall here. We'll have full-size candy bars, hot chocolate, cider, s'mores, music, entertainment. It's going to be a good time. So if you're not doing anything on Halloween night, please come out and join us. Thank you.
Sounds like fun.
It'll be right out front.
Look, front of City
by
Hall.
the fountain and everything. We'll have decor and everything. It'll be a good time. This is our between 6 and 9. This is our second annual. We're hoping to make this an annual thing, make it a little bit bigger, a little bit better each year. So it's going to be a great time.
That's nice. Thank you for the invitation.
Will there be a haunted house?
No. We're not that big yet. I'm scary enough as it is. I'll be there. So, all right. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you. All right. Does anyone online have comments? Does not look like it. Okay, so next, new business. Does anyone have council members, city attorney, city manager, anything extra? Okay, excellent. Well, then we will move on to the first reading. Council member Hasselmeyer, would you please do the second reading? For
Yes,
1990?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Could I call for the first and second reading of bill number 9290?
Second.
Bill 9290, first reading. An ordinance amending Chapter 60, the Traffic Code, Article 7, Section 60.965, Schedule F, miscellaneous stops of the Code of Webster Groves, authorizing the installation of a stop sign on Key West Avenue near its intersection with Tuxedo Boulevard, and the installation of a cross-traffic does not stop plaque.
Excellent. Does anybody have any comments or questions? All right, second reading, please.
Bill 9290, second reading. An ordinance amending Chapter 60, the Traffic Code, Article 7, Section 60.965, Schedule F, miscellaneous stops of the Code of Webster Groves, authorizing installation of a stop sign on Key West Avenue near its intersection with Tuxedo Boulevard, and the installation of a cross-traffic does not stop plaque.
Excellent. Thank you. Council member Alexander, would you please read bill number 9291?
Second. Bill 9291, first reading. An ordinance amending Chapter 60, the Traffic Code, Article 7, Section 60.965, Schedule F, miscellaneous stops of the Code of Webster Groves by establishing a four-way stop control at the intersection of Selma Avenue and Bradford.
Anybody have any discussion? All right, second reading, please.
Bill 9291, second.
Oh,
Sorry.
Councilmember Alexander.
This yesterday and I think like one of these came as a result of one of the tickets that you can yeah. So I guess my question was, because I know I've asked a couple of officers that come to our neighborhood coalition meetings before about the need of a stop sign is a fix-it ticket the way that you should go about getting a stop sign put up? Because both of those were going to be followed up. One of the officers is no longer here, and now we have a new one, but I brought that up at even our meeting that we had around the safety, the safe streets and what have you, and what is required in order for us to be able to.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Either Assistant Chief Weimer or Public Works Director Alpasan can answer that question. So that obviously a fix-it ticket or coming in through Traffic Advisory Commission or through council members, those requests come in through multiple ways, but they do look at different accident and crash data and they can share the parameters or how the decision was. Come on up.
Well, yeah, because one of the questions I had, because one of the questions that I was asked initially was, had there ever been an accident or everything there? And I'm like, well, we really don't want to have an accident first in order to do that. And then I can see this, I'm like, what do we need to do to get it addressed?
So I guess I'd ask you for a more precise, I want to be able to answer the question you're asking, so I'm sorry. So I'm not entirely, what is your question?
I've requested, so at our neighborhood or Northwestern Neighborhood Coalition, we also have, thank you very much to the police department, we have an officer that's there every month when we have our meetings.
Okay.
And so about a year or so ago, I brought it up to the officer that was at the meeting about the need for a stop sign at the corner, which is Willis and Holland, because it's like really, it's very, it's difficult because when you're coming up the hill, you can't see what's coming, over Holland, or when you're coming up Holland, it's hard to see what's coming up Willis. There's no stop sign and there's often close calls there. I've had several myself.
Okay.
But so I was asking, what did we need to do to see about getting a stop sign at that corner? So the officer that was coming to our meetings at that time said his first question was, well, has there ever been an accident or anything there? Why do you think you need one? I said, well, we don't want an accident in order to have one. We already have, it's already difficult with the corner and where the stop sign is, it's almost around the corner.
Yeah.
He was going to follow up on it, but then he's no longer with the city. So now we have a new officer, and I asked him the question, but and he said he was going to follow up on it, but my question becomes, what is the best process to get to this point? Because I've not been able.
I don't know how I became the traffic guy in Webster Groves, but pure I have. There's as Dr. Peoples mentioned, there's a couple different ways, but as my role as liaison of TAC, I field a lot of the emails, phone calls, and concerns get forwarded to me, and then I work with Public Works to do a site assessment. I pull up the data for traffic accidents. We'll do traffic details to see what the violations look like. And we'll kind of try to get a whole picture of a situation. And then from there, we'll make a recommendation up through the police chief to the city manager. And then if approved, we'll make that recommendation in an ordinance to council. That said, I guess, anyway, I'm kind of the guy that answers these now.
I was like, okay, so
Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, depending on how you look at it, but really, it usually starts with a citizen concern. As in this one, it was a fix-it request form in which they were saying that it basically was dangerous, particularly during dismissal. And I'm talking now, I'm switching and going to Solomon Bradford. It was dangerous for students at arrival and dismissal because it was only controlled by one stop sign. So their belief was that a four-way stop and some striping and things would make it safer for students to get to school. I worked with Sanan Public Works, and we made a recommendation because of that. Similar process would be for Wilson Holland as well. And we can certainly take a look at that.
I was gonna say, I think you got a citizen request here. So.
Yeah, it seems like I do. So I'll add it to my list.
Assistant Chief Weimer, was that fix-it request, was that put forth by the students? Because that was a student project that they looked at last year as addressing safety concerns. Do you know?
I asked the SRO if it was the email came from a person not associated with the high school. So it was a resident, and
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have the fix it.
That's okay.
I submitted it, I think, but no, I don't believe it was, but I can't say I did confer with the school district as well.
Okay.
Their opinion on it, and they had no issue with it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad it's going in.
And I think at one time I was told that we needed signatures from the residents in the immediate area, you know, and at another time I was told, no, we don't. But I'm thinking, yes, I do, because if you do a check and you don't see any accidents there, then it sounds to me like that's gonna be a, well, we don't see where there's a hazard, so, but you've got people that live there that are constantly.
Assistant Chief Weimer, you've got company.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to point out a couple of things. First of all, there is something called a manual on uniform traffic control devices, and the Public Works Director can speak to this more. But it has a series of criteria. They call them warrants on whether or not, say, a stop sign or a traffic light or a crosswalk is necessary at a particular intersection or location. So that's step one. But since you mentioned SS4A, Safe Streets, if you might be familiar, we did a safety walk audit down South Elm. We wrapped around to Lockwood. We haven't announced it yet, so I'll announce it now. But we are going to do another safety walk audit in the North Webster area, and we will invite you as well as neighbors to come walk with us and point out those locations throughout the neighborhood that are of concern, so that as the safety study progresses, we'll make sure that those areas are considered in particular.
Okay, well, that would be appreciated, because even when we had the conversation at the coalition with the Safe Streets individuals, again, they showed us the points where we had where the audits were and where the most accidents were and the highest rate of incidents or what have you. And it wasn't within that footprint. But at the same time, living there, you see the fast traffic, you see the stuff, you see the always running the stop signs and all of that. And so it would be appreciated to be able to be part of that.
I would also say that there's not a petition requirement for a stop sign. Some things are petition requirements. If you're talking about parking, that would be a petition thing. That's a little bit different than how we would handle, as you refer to the MUTCD, that kind of determines how we place certain things. I would say, though, that a tendency to put a stop sign down to slow traffic has been shown that necessarily doesn't slow traffic, because people speed up in between the traffic signs to make up for the stops. So there's a multitude of things to look at when you're considering that, to make sure that it's the best approach.
And I'm not looking at it as much as to slow traffic as much as it's to encourage people to stop going there, because when you're coming up that hill, you can't see what's coming from the right over there. And there is a stop sign if you're familiar with the location, when you come up Willis and you make that right turn at Holland, and then there's a quick left on the Willis turns, well, there's a stop sign back there on Willis that's like tucks back behind the curve of the street, which people don't stop at. You can't, but when you come around there, where the issue is where Willis and Holland meet right here at that corner. And you can't see to the left coming up over that corner. And there used to be, only because I lived on that street for 60 years, there used to be a stop sign at one point on that corner on Holland, going north at Willis. I don't know when it changed.
Well, I'll tell you this, I can't make any promises on what actions we've taken, but I will definitely take a look at and evaluate it.
Thank you.
Work with Public Works to try to see if we can come up with a resolution.
I'm glad you're now the traffic police. Thank you.
I am not.
All right, thank you. Karen, is that good, Karen? Okay. All right, so we're ready for the second reading.
Bill, I am too. Bill 9291, second reading. An ordinance amending Chapter 60, the Traffic Code, Article 7, Section 60.965, Schedule F, miscellaneous stops of the Code of Webster Groves by establishing a four-way stop control at the intersection of Selma Avenue and Bradford.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Franklin, we can call for the first and second reading of bill number 9292.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to call for the first and second reading of bill number 9292.
Second.
Bill 9292, first reading. An ordinance of the City of Webster Groves authorizing the city manager to execute on behalf of the city a replacement communications site lease agreement.
Anybody have a discussion?
Can somebody explain to me what that is? Sorry.
I think that as well. I believe it's one of our communications towers.
Okay,
And we have several communications towers, so it's one of those leases.
okay, great, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, second reading, please.
Bill 9292, second reading. An ordinance of the City of Webster Groves authorizing the city manager to execute on behalf of the city a replacement communications site lease agreement.
Thank you very much. All right, so next we have a discussion led by David Bookless, our Deputy City Manager, and John Wagner, Director of Planning and Development.
No, it's gonna be most of the talking. I'll just stand here. I was gonna say it looked pretty, but
You can be the segue, the filling in.
Oh. Oh. There we go. Same thing, right hand button. Okay. Good evening. So at the last meeting, we approved, you guys approved rather, the comprehensive plan after a few years of work on it. Thank you. So what are we going to do now that we have the comprehensive plan done? So in our next few minutes, we're going to talk about how we set priorities. Those basically are through a implementation matrix and a possible code diagnostic and analysis, as well as some code updates. So as you know, these are the 7 pillars on which the comprehensive plan was built. And then the pillars, of course, led to goals for different parts of the plan and strategies on how to accomplish those goals and the actions you take in order to make those a reality. And we are squarely in the action part of that stage right now. And the implementation matrix, and this is for Pillar 1, resilient neighborhoods, and these are in the back of the comprehensive plan as an appendix, and they are now part of a very long Excel spreadsheet. And of course, it has priorities, high, medium, low, time frame on when to accomplish these short-term, midterm, long-term type of things, and who all is going to be involved in how to make that a reality. So the implementation matrix is going to be our roadmap, so to speak, going forward. Something else to look at is revising the various codes that we have. Generally speaking, when you have a comprehensive plan, you revise the zoning ordinance and some of the other associated ordinance as well to accommodate that plan. And we did that when I was at University City not too long ago. And this is something that I shared with Dr. Peoples and David. It's a zoning diagnostic report. It was part of the zoning ordinance revision that we were undertaking when I was there. And this was just an example of it. It had the We Make You City comprehensive plan. That's what they called the plan there. And it had different goals and everything there. And one of those was, and the diagnostic was really that. It was a diagnostic. It had an observation. In this case, the code needs electric vehicle charging station regulations. And I know we've been talking about that here. And their suggestion was update the electric vehicle charging station regulations to match the quickly changing popularity of electric vehicles. And it elaborated on some of that language and even provided a number of illustrations to further talk about some of the concepts. So that's what the diagnostic was. It's 79 or so pages, I think. Was very informative. And possible ways forward, and this is where David's going to take over a little bit.
Thank you. So there's a couple of ways, actually it's a combination of a couple of ways. We can do a full code review versus incremental. And you also have to take into consideration that it's not just one ordinance or code we have to look at. The zoning ordinance, the subdivision ordinance, the nuisance code, the building codes, the sign code, and that list probably continues beyond that. Because as you all know, they all interrelate and they cross-reference each other. And even within those codes, the same issue can be discussed multiple times, and you need to make sure that you're finding all the references to that same regulation so that you don't end up with contradictions across your codes. And you can do it all at once, which makes some sense, or you can do it piece by piece. Trade-off is time. If you want to do a full code, obviously it's going to take you a significant amount of time, whereas incremental, you can do it slowly over time. And then in-house versus having a consultant do it. We do have the technical capacity in-house to do it. Here's the technical capacity right here. We can do a lot of the revisions. We're very familiar with the codes. But it's, like I said, it's very time intensive and it would divert us from doing our daily tasks and operations. So other things would theoretically suffer if we focused on doing this. But if you hire a consultant, it's going to cost you some serious money. And John can actually speak to his experience in University City with this, where they only looked at the zoning ordinance. They didn't look at any of the other related codes.
Thank you, David. Oop. Uh-oh. There we go. So I see a lot of public policy issues on a continuum. Maybe it's the academic side of me coming out a little bit. But there is a continuum between cost and the time to accomplish these amendments. So either it's going to cost a lot or take a long time, one or the other, and it's usually somewhere in the middle. Hiring a consultant just to do the zoning ordinance was $189,000 and is taking about a year and a half or so, and they're about 6 months into it.
And that was just for the diet.
Yeah. Oh, no, that was for the entire thing.
Oh, that was for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
entire
the diagnostic was part of that, but the entire revision was $189,000. So hiring a consultant to review all of our codes would be quite a bit more than that. I don't know. It's not a linear equation. I'm sure there'd be some economies of scale involved with that as well. But I don't think the 189,000 was anything outrageous for cost-wise. I mean, we had some other ones that were fairly similar. But doing the work in-house, as David mentioned, could take a few years and detract from the work that we do every day otherwise. So staff recommends soliciting bids from consultants to determine the true cost of a code analysis and a diagnostic framework to see what that is.
So you can make a decision about where you want to proceed. You might see the cost and it's so, out of this world that you say we can't go that route, but perhaps it's worth it relative to the amount of time it would take to make the changes to the codes across the board.
So, so even if we went in-house, well, I mean, if we go out, use a consultant to do that, you're still gonna have to review what the consultant did.
Yeah.
But
And-
is it gonna take up just as much time?
It would take as much time to
Review what
review
the
their,
consultant did.
oh, no, it'd be less time to review what they're doing as opposed to actually doing the revisions ourselves. And I should qualify the 189. That may have been, the U City's zoning ordinance hadn't been touched in quite some time. So it was, if I might say, someone on life support. So I don't know that, I don't know if it's an even, like it would be the same here or not. So that would be unfair to say that it would be. So, because there were a lot of things that went into that as well.
And that's why we recommend just going out and finding out actually what it would cost so that we can come back to you with that number, that time frame, and then you can make an informed decision on how you want to proceed.
Councilman,
My gut reaction on it is that's okay, but I would almost feel like there needs to be some type of a hybrid approach. Because my concern is that, we've just spent almost 2 years going through the comprehensive plan and getting that taken care of. So now if we go and we take another year and a half, doing another study at another expense to see what's the best way to approach this, there's stuff that needs to be addressed that's not being addressed. I would almost want to see addressing some of the things going forward with some of the things that we could do immediately or start working on right away that we discussed, like some of the discussion we had in work session or some of the discussion we've had around floor area ratios and things like that. I would hate to see that stuff just stop and stall for another year and a half.
So that would be the incremental approach.
Yeah.
and so it wouldn't. And Mr. Bookless, if you get near the microphone when you're talking as well. No, I just want to make sure that it's.
Yeah, that would be the incremental approach, which
Mhm.
we could certainly do.
So if I can, This has been the approach. Determining these steps has been the approach all along throughout the comprehensive plan. We knew that once council adopted it, there would be next steps. I do view that as a hybrid plan if council decided to go with a consultant, much like the Lakota's group approach with us. They did the research, they brought the information. Staff met with Lakota group once a week, twice a week throughout that 18 months. So it's still, to your point, Councilman Smith, yes, it would still take staff time because we're not just turning it loose even if there's a consultant, but it's helping a package it, if you will. And because it has so many tentacles, touches other places. And I greatly appreciated hearing that we have the technical experience in-house. That's important. What we don't have is the capacity in-house. As you all know, the planning department is ramping back up. We're still trying to get a handle and it's not so much an issue of backlog. It's how do we keep up? It's managing to keep up. We're still doing some of the converting to magnet. We've got other council goals that you all have talked about, which we need to get to, and staff support as well, getting things online. So you can have your ARB packet plans and do them from out of town, being able to do that sort of stuff. However, and to Councilwoman Alexander's point, I agree fully. Whether we go with a consultant or do things in-house, we have to figure out how we manage to continue getting the work done, like front-facing garages. Now, the Plan Commission, due to council's decision, will be hearing the EV charging, or excuse me, responsible lighting. That will be moving forward. This evening's conversation, we will still bring back the red line ordinances. Those things will continue. So work isn't going to stop. But when we consider the whole package and body of work that needs to be done with the zoning ordinances, we have to discuss that. And so the last thing I'll say is even if council decides that we would need to do it in-house, which is certainly an option, we would most likely bring a staffing model and plan with that. So perhaps it would be cheaper than going with a consultant, but could we add a staff member with expertise to be able to assist in this process? So those are things we would be bringing back.
So some things I keep thinking about is we have a sustainability plan, we have a new
Yep.
stormwater master plan. We have a brand new comprehensive plan, and we've talked about an economic development plan. So we have all these plans in place, or potentially, how do we make sure these plans are like talking to each other and they're interacting and woven in together so that we aren't neglecting something that somebody hasn't thought of while we're focusing on these things, and maybe that thing, whatever that item is, it can be pulled in and look at it more holistically and overlapping. Do we need a consultant to do that? Can we do that part in-house? Just to make sure we are optimizing what we have in place already.
Mayor Pro Tem, I believe we can. And that was really the aim of revitalizing the deputy city manager position, because Mr. Bookless has planning department, but as you all know, he's also the liaison now to GSAC and to sustainability,
yeah.
as we're looking at all of those plans, and stormwater is under his purview as well. And you started to speak, so please.
Thank you. And in fact, you saw the implementation matrix. We have our own working version of that matrix, or we've added several more columns where we're looking at all those other touch points. Is it in the stormwater master plan? Is it in the Webster Groves Forever plan and so forth? So we are trying to make sure that we do touch all those things.
Great. And so someone like you or someone in your role potentially would be that person that's thinking big picture about how all these things. Correct. We won't need another consultant to do that. Okay.
Our plan is to be able to move forward and potentially, and it's a long way down, and so I don't want to scare anybody. Do some of those plans merge? Do we have an
Yeah.
overall plan? Is it a climate resiliency plan
Mhm,
that looks at all of those things? But do we start incorporating those things into one document rather than having several standalone plans?
So I have a couple questions. What exactly is this code analysis diagnostic? Like that's the first part before they start rewriting the code. What are they doing there?
That was something that the consultant did for University City, and part of that too, they actually listed out, I didn't show you just on the few slides we had here, they listed out the individual plans that they had at the city at the time, the comprehensive plan, the stormwater master plan, but all those, and they had like, a dozen or so plans on there that the consultant referenced when they put together the rest of some of the parts that I showed you on there.
Gotcha. So my understanding is the comprehensive plan is just that, a plan. It's not an ordinance. So what would they be rewriting?
The actual zoning ordinance and the subdivision ordinance to I'm sorry,
No,
Dave, David,
no,
they-
please.
no, they would be rewriting and revising, basically, the subdivision ordinance, the zoning ordinance and the other codes as well to match what was in the comprehensive plan well, I guess it codified to a certain degree, because you're right, the comprehensive plan is not an ordinance. But it would consider those plans as the revision is made. That makes sense?
Much
So
of our
if you look
zoning
at the,
is outdated and does not support what we put forth in the
Yes.
comprehensive plan.
yeah, so the comprehensive plan has its own goals, strategies, actions. Some of those might not be permitted under our current zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance, and so forth. The consultant will go through those codes, identify all those areas that need to be updated in order to implement the comprehensive plan.
But I guess that's where I struggle, because it's a plan. So we haven't necessarily agreed that, for instance, I'm gonna just use charging stations as an example, that we want charging stations or that we want them in X places. So what are they writing?
They would first be identifying those areas where the code doesn't support the comprehensive plan. That would come back to you, and you might prioritize what changes you want to see made. You might say, you know what? EV charging stations isn't our priority. I know that's not true. But if you come back and say that, well, that change doesn't get made. But we have to identify where the deficiencies are in the zoning ordinance, where the deficiencies are in the sign code and the lighting code and the sign code and everything else, so that should you want to proceed with implementing the comprehensive plan, that we have the tools to do it,
Like where the mismatches are.
where the mismatches are.
But it's a plan. See, this is where I'm struggling, is because it's merely a plan. So we as council haven't necessarily discussed all of the fine details of the lighting or the zoning and everything.
That would come before you still.
I
No-
understand it'll come before us, but why do we need someone outside to do this? Why, like, I mean, it seems like how it's always been done and the way that we've always operated is, like, for instance, we're looking at EV charging stations. So we look at our code, see what needs to be updated in order to implement what council wants, and we proceed accordingly.
You're absolutely correct. This is just a more holistic approach to it, that you would do it all in one felt swoop, as opposed to incrementally.
Why does
Incrementally
this-
might take years and years and years. So it's hard to put a finger on it, but
Is supposed to take place over years and years.
That's
I
true.
mean, it's not a tomorrow plan. It's like a 10-year, 20, 30-year plan. So I don't think that, I don't know. For me, I don't know what the rush is to try to do it. Like, I like incremental. I like doing as much of it in-house as we can. I understand that's going to take longer. I'm okay with that unless there's some issue that I'm not aware of. My question was, how does Plan Commission fit into this? How are they involved early on and not just as an approver?
sure. So we would be consulting with the plan commission as we move forward. The diagnostic, we don't necessarily have to involve them directly in, but it's once we do that diagnostic, we present that to the plan commission and say, okay, these are all the things that we've identified as needing to be changed. And perhaps they could give us some direction. Perhaps you could give us the direction of what to prioritize in terms of making those changes.
I think to David's point, I'm a little nervous about those changes going to plan before they come here because we haven't agreed that we want that specific change to happen.
Well, and we would follow the new process that I believe Dr. Peoples put forward, where we would come to you. You would say, yes, this is the way we want to go. We would then go back to planning commission.
I'm more comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So I think there is a little bit of disconnect there, and council certainly can advise Plan Commission about how to do that. But as you know, from being involved in Plan Commission, they were uncomfortable with the reverse, with hearing front-facing garages,
Yeah.
hearing EV, and having it not come up through a different way. Again, council can dictate how that happens, but I think that's some conversations that need to happen from council. And all we're doing this evening is asking for your direction on this, because I do believe that I'll use your term of mismatch. There is a mismatch of direction from council on this, because I have certainly heard from, I would say, at least a good portion of you, we've adopted it. We can't just put it on the shelf. How are we moving forward? What is the plan? What are those steps? And so what we're sharing in order to do that, and even whether it's in-house or having a consultant, it is going to take place over it's, whether it's 1.5 years or 3 years to have the ordinances outlined is a different story than us bringing to you one ordinance at a time. So, or one code change at a time. And council will be involved every step of the way, as will plan commission, just in a different process.
I'm really am concerned about the cost and on the continuum between cost and time. I'd rather have it take longer and not be adding to staff or paying 6 figures to a consultant. That with our budget the way it is, that makes me incredibly nervous.
And when we recommended soliciting bids, that was just to give you the broader picture of what it would cost were we to go to a consultant versus doing it in-house.
I think the solicitation of bids makes sense. I definitely am not opposed to the idea of that, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around exactly, and maybe they'll be able to tell us what they'll be able to do with the bid, like with the return of the bid, and the scope of the work and how it'll actually play out. Because I just, it seems like we're asking them to rewrite our code, which I'm not opposed to, but I don't know what they're rewriting because we haven't really discuss the fine details of that. And I guess you're saying effectively, well, they'll come to us with what we need to rewrite. And then at that point, we'll have the discussion.
And if you saw the page, the excerpt that John had in his slideshow from their consultant, that's what it did. It identified all those areas that needed to be revised, suggestions on how to revise them, basically.
And I mean, I think there's part of it, we're relying on staff's expertise to kind of help prioritize and help us knit these things together with the consultants. I don't feel like we have, or I know I personally don't have the expertise to say, this is the priority and this is the order in which we should do it. And I think it's okay to ask staff to help us sort through that order of business.
Well, I guess it begs the question then, what did we spend all the money on the comprehensive plan for? Why didn't we just go directly to this?
Because the comprehensive plan addresses way more than just zoning and code. It addresses.
You can't do anything
Vision.
else without the code. So like, what was the purpose?
Because our vision. You work top down, you don't work bottom up.
The comprehensive plan is our land use plan and how we envision the community in years to come. And we had to, well, I guess we didn't have to, but council chose to work with a consultant to be able to get the community input over that 18 months to see how the community envisions the future. So now we're saying that our code does not support how we envision our community going into the future. And this is hard for me to wrap my mind around as well. I think the responsible lighting ordinance that now is going to Plan Commission is a great example. And so I'd ask either of you to step in. There's not just a lighting ordinance that it touches. It touches about 15 other areas of the code that we then are going to have the Plan Commission. Well, staff first is going to have to redline all of that, figure out they understand all of it. Red line, see where all the tentacles touch. I keep thinking about it as an octopus. And then taking all of those back to Plan Commission, having them discuss, which will not be done in 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 6 even meetings. They will discuss it and then bring it back to City Council. Having a consultant, if that is the direction that council would select to go, would help go through all of that and get those overarching disconnected pieces connected and provide us with recommendations as well as, and the piece, and again, I really appreciate hearing that we have the technical expertise in-house, but what I saw from that report that Mr. Wagner shared, or excuse me, Dr. Wagner shared, is that it also gave best practices. And I don't know that we always know the best practices with responsible lighting, with sustainability, with all of the things that council's interested in doing. And I am not saying for a second that we should do all of those things because there may be some implications that we don't want to go down the road. So anyway, I would just recommend that there's no harm in getting RFP bid responses because that is always free. And we can see what those responses look like. And then council could determine, no, this is a bridge too far. It needs to be done in-house, or perhaps you'll see something that you like.
Can we pin the cost of an additional FTE to what they might charge to do it? So we have, they'll be part of us since we have the expertise in-house.
Oh, I see.
That's all that person is doing is working on those codes.
Yes, so we can have put together some cost comparisons of what an additional FTE would cost or a part-time. And, again, my concern with that, as you all know, if we have staff doing this, preparing the presentations, even the presentations that you all received tonight, and they did a bang-up job. The number of hours spent on gathering that information, we went over the presentations, made sure we honed up. That's all time. It's all time. So when we're talking about doing it to this scale, and the pace of it is also what's the factor, for Katie to get her work done, we have to have these presentations in the Thursday before the council meeting. So all of that, again, is I'm looking for your direction of how fast do you want this to be? How slow do you want it to be?
Well, I think again, we know that once we had this comprehensive plan in place, it is a guide for how we move forward over the next however many years it took us to get this one done. So we know we're not looking for it to be done right away, but that's why I said the hybrid approach, because there are some things that we need to work on now. And then there are some things that we need to organize and work on to that we're gonna be moving forward, down the road, and even prioritizing which one of those things we wanna see first, but, I mean, the whole purpose of the comprehensive plan was to put a guide in place. Now we do have to move it forward. So it becomes, to me, this is the way of saying, how do we start doing that? I'm just saying I prefer to see it as a hybrid because I don't want to stop things that we need to be working on to wait for all of this to be done. I think it needs to be even prioritizing which type of zone do we categorize them? What do we want to work on first, second, and third, so that we're not waiting till we get to the end of a full list before things are being done.
And to that point, Dr. Wagner, when U City did this, was everything on hold then for a year and a half while the consultant went through the diagnostic?
No,
report?
absolutely not. The
Okay.
consultant came in and I think to maybe leave some of your concerns, they came in and they did a fairly robust, are doing it now, civic engagement, not necessarily to repeat what the comprehensive plan did,
Yeah.
but they would talk to the community and they would interview, hopefully if Dr. Peoples is okay with it, interview each of you as well. And so it wouldn't just be a document that would come to you without having your input done first. They would come and interview all the council members. They talk to us, they talk to Dr. Peoples, and so on and so forth. But no, and all the work in the meantime, all the work that from the comprehensive plan did not stop. And the plan commission there actually is taking a lot of ownership in the zoning ordinance rewrite and so on and so forth. So no, everything else is moving forward. There's conditional use permits, there's rezonings and those sorts of things. So everything is not coming to a halt, and nor does it need to.
Okay.
Nor does it need to. And all the work that everybody's doing on electric vehicle charging and so on is, I think it's a stretch to say that that's less work that a consultant would have to do. They would take that information as well. So it's just a little bit less that they would have to do if a consultant were to do the work.
Okay, thank you.
What's
Mr.
the
Bumpus,
normal-
did you want to add
I was
something?
just going to add that, bear in mind that the day-to-day work that continues would be under the current codes. So the rules that are in
Right.
place now, we would still have to follow while we look at potential changes to the code
Yeah.
to make in the future.
What timeframe do you see that RFP for bids would happen? 60 days, 90 days?
We could probably put something together relatively quickly, but bear in mind the time of year. As soon as you get close to Thanksgiving, between then and New Year's, consultants are in Florida, wherever on vacation, so response times slow down. So I think realistically, we could probably put something out early next year.
I think we need that, just like you mentioned, having that information at hand, we can make informed decisions on which way we want to go.
That would allow us to do it when we start talking about budgeting.
Yep.
Yes.
And then, like I said, I like to see how many FTEs it might take if we don't go the consultant's way. I think it'll stretch the time out for it getting done, but that might be a decision that we have to make, either FTE or either consultant time. I'd like to see the bids, soliciting bids from consultants to look at a true cost of that code analysis.
Thank you. That's a good segue. Mayor Arnold and I discussed this a little bit yesterday. And so just a reminder, I don't remember at what point during the 18-month comprehensive plan discussion, we had this, but it ties into budget as well. This was some of the budget discussion, and in terms of how council might decide to use some of the reserve, was being able to
Mhm.
launch the comprehensive plan. So
Exactly.
that was discussed. We didn't put any specific dollar amounts beside it, but just as you all think about this, just remember, we do have healthy reserves, and we knew that we did need to do this. So we are planning for the budget discussions as well internally as we talk.
Great. Okay,
That's my recommendation.
I think we have consensus enough for you to work from.
I feel like we have direction, gentlemen.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
all right. Thank you. Next we have Mr. Davis coming to speak with us about the strategic plan and dashboard update, which is yet another plan. Our many planned city.
Got a lot of them.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Good evening. Over the next 2 hours, I'd like to go over all 6 tools, 72 tactics, 1,000 data.
Awesome.
Just want to give a short overview of where we're at on our strategic plan. So for those playing at home or watching the video, this plan can be found on the city's website under Government Strategic Plan.
How about that? Everybody missed my good joke online. So the strategic plan can be found on the city's website. You can just type in strategic plan in the search bar. That'll bring up our page. You can click on the main document and it will go in and show you the newly updated strategic plan, all the council's goals, the department tactics and KPIs, and all that good stuff that we done. You all adopted this updated version in March of this year. But what we really want to talk about tonight is we'd like to introduce, we're excited to announce the launch of our strategic plan online dashboard. It's our new resource that follows the city's progress. This interactive tool provides quarterly updates on our key performance indicators tied to our strategic goals and actions. This dashboard will help us visualize performance data, offering a clear and transparent look at the important work the city's doing. And to view that right there beside it, you can just click here for the online dashboard. This is going to take you out to our new dashboard. I'm not going to read all this data to you, but basically each of the council's 6 goals are here. You can click on any of these goals, and I'm going to click through a couple of our tactics just to show you the different ways that some of this data can be shown and looked at. But we're definitely not going to click into all 72 of them. I'll let you guys dig into that later, and the public can also see all these. So goal number 1, provide excellence in service. So if we look at finance and workforces department, one of theirs is to streamline hiring processes to timely backfill open positions. If you would click on that one, it then brings us into a couple different graphs. I'm going to make that a little bigger so you can see it. So we've asked the departments to go in and put in their first, second, and third quarter data in this dashboard. This is a living document, so every quarter we'll be updating all these data points. But as you can see in this one, this gives the city's workforce. So the amount of employees that are less than 5 years, currently in quarter 3, we're at 95 employees or less than 5 years of service to the city. Whereas 20 plus year employees, you have 22 20 plus year employees. So just a little snapshot in time of what those are.
Scott, are these calendar year quarters?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good question, because it's not fiscal year. These are all calendar year quarters. And then just one of the other graphics on that one is these are reasons staff have left the city over the quarters. So you can see that, in quarter 3, we had 1 retirement. We had 2 employees that left for career advancement, 1 better pay or benefits. We had 1 that moved, and we had 9 in the other categories. So just the kind of types of data that are in there. Show you another one. Past it. Yep. Information technology, streamline IT support by empowering users with the virtual access IT help desk. So IT department has now fully implemented their 100% goal of bringing a new software IT ticketing system online so that staff that have problems with their phone, with their computer, whatever it may be, can put a ticket in online. IT staff then automatically pick that ticket up depending on who's working the ticket desk that day, and then can figure out how to rectify that situation, whether it's on the back end of the system, whether it's coming out to that user's desk to help them plug in cords or what have you. We've never had that before. It's always been send an email, call, run around, scream and yell and find a guy to come help you. So this ticketing system is very helpful so far. But as this is a living document, now that we've hit 100% goals on this, so this tactic is done, right? Well, that's the next point. So we're done with this tactic. What do? Do we let it sit here? No. As a living document in the next quarter, I plan to, we just brought this online within the last couple of weeks. So for quarter 4, we'll add another graph on there, which will show how many tickets were put in, what the timeline was to get those completed and rectified. Were they done in 24 hours, 48 hours? Were they for hardware? Were they for software? Things of that nature. So we can add to these programs and tactics as we're going along. 100% is now the software is up and running. It was a new system that we implemented, so the system is up and running. So that was the tactic, was to build a system, get it running. Now we'll go to the next step and start reporting out on what that system actually does. Another one in this goal that I wanted to look at was the police department. Invest in staff through robust continuing education, improving service delivery, community relations, and officer well-being. So just some of our transparency. A lot of this is for public transparencies and what we've got going on. So this just tells you, how many use of force incidents they had per quarter, how many hours of credit, post-credit hours the officers had to do learning on to keep their certifications, and response times. They're under 4-minute response times, which I think is pretty great by the time you call and an officer's at your doorstep in less than 4 minutes. So just different types of data like that. Each of the goals have the same types of data. So I'm not going to click into all of them and show you a whole bunch more. I'll let you guys poke around in here. This is open to our public. It is on the city's website, active as of today. It's a fully functioning system. As you poke around in there, you will find some zeros. Zeros are okay. This strategic plan that we just implemented, or you guys adopted in March, was revision from the one that came out in 2023, your first one. We'll likely get that updated every few years as we move through these tactics and we achieve more progress towards those goals. Maybe your goals change in a couple of years. So we're only in quarter 3 of the new plan, over 8 quarters or 12 quarters for 2 or 3 years. So zeros in some of those tactics is okay. That just means we haven't gotten there yet. We've still got work to do.
Yep.
Make sure I hit all my notes. I think I did. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
This is just lovely.
Right up your alley.
Oh, yeah, I've been
Yeah,
asking
it's great.
for
Metrics and
metrics and all that good stuff. And it's out there for the public to see, and they can see for themselves.
I want to thank all the department directors and even several other staffs. It was just recently that we asked them to go get all this data and start tracking it. It took a couple months to put that original plan together. Now they've got to do the work to update the plan. First time doing it for them, we all kind of went, what are we doing a little bit? Where do we get all this data? How do we make sure that we report it the same way every time so it's consistent data? So those different departments put a lot of work into it. And helped me out building it, because once I put the data in, then we realized some of it didn't talk well with the graphs that I had pre-built before the data went in. So I had to go meet with a bunch of them so they could tell me what their data actually means, because I don't know what everything the police department's data is. So, Aaron sat down with me and hopefully walked me through that kind of stuff. So big kudos to all of them for getting this done too.
Excellent,
Thank you
excellent.
very much.
As you all dig around in this, and I hope you do, and I hope the public does as well, because it is a live document, there's bound to be some errors. So as some of the data changes and as we go back and make corrections and just get used to the tool. So
Yeah.
please remember that. And if you see anything that you think is an error, let me know. So, or Scott knows so we can get it corrected.
Sounds good.
Thank
Great.
you.
All right, on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they'd like to review and discuss from the consent agenda? Excellent. Councilmember Smith, could you please call for the approval of the consent agenda?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I call for the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Bliss,
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Hassmeyer.
Yes.
Excellent. So next we have made some appointments to boards and commissions this evening. Jason Smith has been named to the Architectural Review Board. Marty Clunch to the Business Development Commission. Melissa Downs will be joining the Old Orchard Special Business District Commission. And that's it for this evening. We do have a closed session. Councilmember Franklin, would you please call for the
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to call for an executive closed session pursuant to attorney-client privilege communications, Missouri Section 610.021 subsection 1, negotiated contract, Section 610.021 subsection 12, and personnel records, 610.021 subsection 13.
Second. It's a new one.
Councilmember Franklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander, Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Hassmeyer.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bliss.
Yes. All right. That's our meeting for this evening. Thank you very much.